deep into one big issue in Nigeria today. And we've been doing a build up on the big hard fact for at least a week. Since last week, Monday, we're looking at different ministries every day on the big hard fact. And we're doing this as part of our build up to President Buhari's announcement of portfolios for his ministers on Wednesday. Today, we're looking at infrastructure. We're looking specifically at roads, rail, and waterways. And like I always do, I have a big hard fact for you. According to the International Union of Railways, while Nigeria ranks 51st in total length of railway track, we are 107th in area per length of track and 136th in population per length of track. So essentially, while we have a lot of railway track, it is simply not enough for our landmass or for our population. We need far more railway lines. And the same applies for roads, for navigable, dredged waterways, and for ports and for jetties. Now, I'm not going to be having this conversation by myself. I have on the show with us today a journalist who is also a maritime expert, Deepo Olayokun. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Hard Facts.
Yes, Sandra, how are you?
I'm very well. Welcome. So Nigeria is blessed with two major rivers, the Benue and the Niger. They literally divide the country into three almost equal parts, right? But they link to the three old regions of East, West, and North. Why don't we have more interstate water transport for good along these rivers?
I think it has to do with planning and failure to plan on the part of our leaders.
Okay.
Because some of these things should be driven by the government. Because that is the essence of the government, to provide the lead. But unfortunately, as we always say in the maritime palace, that if you have access to the waters, you have access to the riches of the world.
Yeah.
If you have access to the waters, you have access to the riches of the world. When you consider some countries like Singapore, Malaysia, these countries don't have crude oil as we do, but they are, when you're talking of economy, at least they are far ahead of us because they have exploited the waters available to them. And that is why when you are talking about maritime nations, these two countries readily come to mind. But unfortunately, Nigeria is blessed with vast water. What do? At times, we allow water hyacinth to cover these waters. Unfortunately, we allow the so-called bad boys or the pirates to take advantage of these waters. And these guys are making billions. But the government that has access to this water, that they have to have control over these waters, is not making adequate use of these waters. Do you know that all this noise that we are making about crude oil being the major foreign exchange earner for Nigeria, if we have developed our potentials and potentialities in the waters, we will not even look at that one. That will just be a forgiving or forgotten God endowment to us. But unfortunately, because we don't have people that think ahead, people that look at the future, we only have leaders that only look at the immediate. And unfortunately, they even look at yesterday. That is why we so much depend on crude oil, and that is why we are today. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Look at the Apapa port where we operate. Do you know that very close to us here, we have Ikorodu? We have the one they are developing at Lekki now, which has been taking eternity to develop. These are what we could call like the tributaries that should channel small vessels or small ships. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
That when the big vessels come to Apapa, you distribute this into these channels so that not everybody will come to Apapa to be lifting either fuel or water or cargo. Even apart from that, we have the Onitsha, we have Kanaba, we have Sapele, we have Calabar. Unfortunately, nobody is looking at that. Even the one that has been developed, which is the One in Parakot, a lot of factors don't make people to send their cargoes there. Insecurity that I talked about initially, about how safe are our waters. So no investor will want to take the risk to send his vessel or cargo to a place where insecurity reigns supreme, especially on the waters. So those are the things that we are missing, and that is why we are missing out when you're talking about the big player in the international politics of maritime industry. That is just it.
All right, so Aghogho has just joined us, and before he joined us, Aghogho, I was asking him why, even though we have the Benue and the Niger divided almost equally between the east, the west, and the north, we don't have interstate water transport happening. And he's mentioned the rivers being too shallow, so I mean they need to be dredged, right? He's mentioned security, a big part of the problem. We also need more jetties, I think. Now, you look at the River Niger. Deepo, the River Niger, since I was born, has had a contract after contract being awarded to drain the River Niger. Why does this project never seem to end?
It is unfortunate that we have to also mention the second nature. I don't mean to degrade Nigeria. The second nature of our country, which is corruption. Let me give you an instance. When the current NPA MD, that's Hajia Bala Mohammed, Bala Usman, came into office, one of the very first things she confronted, or she took on headlong, was the issue of these contracts that have refused to come into fruition. There have been contracts upon contracts, especially the Calabar dredging. There was a time when the issue of Niger Delta meter was militating against it, when those guys said nobody will come to the area to dredge and stuff like that. But since after the issue of the amnesty, and there is a relative peace around there, this contract has been awarded several times. But because of the second nature of our dear country, corruption, they will award the contract, nothing will happen. Just of recent, the lady again said, before the end of her tenure, she will make sure that this thing actually takes off. And that is exactly the only hope we have now. They have identified the cause. It is mainly corruption. Because let me tell you one thing, we need these things. We have said a lot of things about congestion in Apapa. We have said a lot of things about the problem that is given to the people that are living in Apapa or working in Apapa. And that is why even in our own association, that is NAGAP, National Association of Government Appropriate for that, we have always said this. Let us decentralize, or let us call it, let us democratize the process of discharging of cargo. We came up with even the category. Are you getting my point? As far back as 12 years ago, we gave them the blueprint. I'm very happy now that the white people in charge of APMT, is one of the concessionaires, have agreed to take up the category aspect. Because when you contest your one port with your cargo, it has a lot of adverse effects. And that is exactly the breaking down of infrastructure in Lagos. Because there are so much heavy trucks coming into Apapa. And unfortunately, we also told them that what we need to do if we have a problem, there's something they call intermodal way of discharging cargo. We have the rail. Do you know, as we speak today, Sandra, as we speak today, there is a rail line that enters the Apapa port. As we speak today. Just to let you know that those who are taking care of Nigeria or who are ruling the affairs of Nigeria many years back had put on their thinking cap. But unfortunately, many of these tracks have even disorganized because of disuse. And there are a lot of people go there to vandalize. Though of recent, they have been trying to put all these things together because I'm aware that cargo now leave the port to Kaduna Dry Port directly by rail. Another part, I was in Abeokuta about 2 weeks ago. I saw some cargoes, empty containers coming back to Lagos on rail. But we need more of this. You have just said something about the rail tracks in Nigeria.
Great.
How they fell short of compared with the number of cargo and then number of goods. That is just the sad commentary on our nature. Unfortunately, when we have an infrastructure, instead of improving on it, we get to a stage where the thing continues to deteriorate.
In fact, it's great.
But it will not help anybody.
Okay. Yeah, it's great you've mentioned the rail system also too, because of the interconnectivity. Many times I've had people saying that the only way we can free up the ports is if we can get the rail working according to the original master plan for the port, or even with the airport, I also understand, which was designed designed like what we have in Amsterdam, was supposed to have a rail that would take you out of the airport. But unfortunately, many of these things we haven't even seen the light of day after the infrastructure was put up. But with the rail, I've heard arguments saying that the former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, while he was in office, we haven't seen such development with the rail system, to suggest that if there's going to be any minister with the 2015-2019 set, 2015-2019 set, he's perhaps the one who's worked most in terms of rail. But if you go outside and ask the man on the street what he thinks about the rail system, it's neither here nor there in saying that we've made any significant improvement. What lies ahead of the minister for the rail system?
It's just like when you want to build a bridge on top of the water. Before you see the structures above the waters, a lot of work will have gone under the water. It's only when you see the bridge come up, you think, oh, the bridge is just being built. You won't know that a lot of work has gone under the water to bring the bridge to a level where you will see it. I think that's exactly what happened in the case of Mr. Rotimi Amechi. Interestingly, in the industry, very many people believe that he actually worked. Especially if you are looking at the problems with the maritime industry, and then with the idea of using the rail to free our roads. That is, but unfortunately, like I said, people don't know what is happening. They begin to see the tracks. But people in the industry know, because for about a year, in the past 1 year, they have been moving cargo consistently by rail, and we are aware of this. You can imagine when you have about 20 wagons, or wagons, when you have about 70 containers attached to an engine and driven out of Apapa to Kaduna, do you know what has happened, Oboh? You have taken 35 trailers off the road with one movement of an engine of rail, of a train. You have taken 35 vehicles. You can imagine what is going to happen on our roads if we take 35 vehicles that apply this road every morning, every day. You have longer than our roads will have longer time before they crumble. But because of what we do, that is why we say Nigerians, unfortunately, we are what do we call this thing? Pens wise, pounds foolish. Because every problem that we create, it has a ripple effect, multiply effect, because one problem will lead to the other. Let me give you an example. The problem we have in Apapa today is not only because of cargoes, either leaving Apapa, either leaving Nigeria, or coming into Nigeria. It is because, apart from cargoes, we also have containers struggling with trucks to come into Apapa to come and live well. Oboh, do you know that if we have fixed our refinery, we will be facing that problem? The answer is capital no. And that's exactly what is happening in the maritime industry. Because we have failed to develop other ports for whatever reason that we don't know. Some people look at it from political angle, that some people don't want cargo distribution to be decentralized. But the problem, whatever is the reason, the country is paying dearly for it.
That's right.
In terms of collapsed infrastructure,
Right.
in terms of the issue of economic dividend not being spread, because if you concentrate everything in Lagos, other ports, other areas will not benefit from the waters that God has blessed us with. So those are the things that we are talking about. Before the announcement of the new ministerial list, interestingly, on Saturday before the Monday, the maritime, they call themselves maritime team. They call us in the industry. I don't know if it was a coincidence or it was an agenda setting, or can I say a reception for Mr. Rotimi on a Saturday at a hotel, that they wanted to show appreciation to him for what he has done in the industry. Nobody is enjoying what is happening. Because if you have a container or you have your vehicle, a truck, coming into the port to lift just a container, and you have the truck on the road for 3-4 days, the freight forwarder is paying the owner of the truck. So it is affecting our ports seriously and our members. Something that should have taken you less than 8 hours, you are now spending 3 days. You know how it's going to affect the pulse of the person that is putting the bill. So that is why I believe that anything that will be done to decongest the ports, to make the port access road very easy so that people can come in and go out of the port. Because that is when you can develop the maritime industry.
All right, so let's step away from the ports and the rivers and the rails for a bit. We're going to come back there. Let's talk about road for a bit, right? While the rivers are an opportunity for water transport, they present a challenge for road transport, right?
Yes.
So you have cars that need bridges to cross these rivers south of the confluence, but we don't have enough bridges. Why don't we have more than one bridge crossing the Niger in the southeast, or more than one crossing the Benue in the Middle East? He laughs.
you know, when we started singing the song of Second Niger Bridge, I think the music, the song has gone sour now. It is still the same problem. You see, the problem of Nigeria is not for want of ideas or want of policies. The problem is implementation of these policies. It doesn't require any rocket science. You don't need any social to tell you that you need it. How do I mean? You know that I can't say of the past 2 years, but for about 3, 4, 5 years, I made it a habit that I would travel out of Lagos to either Calabar or Enugu for the Easter. On those 3 occasions, I discovered that anytime you are passing Asaba and you are approaching Onitsha, the bridge, your heart must ache, because you know what you are going to experience in terms of traffic. And in fact, as a matter of fact, I even heard that there was a time when they spent at least 2 days crossing that bridge, really in the busy period of Christmas. So you don't need anybody to tell the government that there was need for that Second Niger Bridge. It doesn't require any agitation or any protest. It is just there for people in government that knows what their people want, that they need to do it. Yes, I have not been to Onitsha in the past 5 or 6 months, but somebody just told me that Second Niger Bridge has become visible. But even like that, when you get to the one between Lokoja towards Abuja, why should it be only one bridge? So it is until our leaders know that they are in government, they are in power to make life more meaningful for their people. It is only then that we can put all this problem behind us. But when we wait for a problem to occur or to happen before we begin to look for solution, it's going to take us a long time before we get to where we are going.
All right,
we're
streaming this conversation on Facebook, Nigeria Info FM. Feel free to watch and leave us comments as we go along, and we're going to read them. WhatsApp is also 080-959-75805. Mr. Tipwell, in the news today, we've been talking about the attack on Ezekwesili in Germany. It has brought up the role of the National Assembly in governance, right? Now, under the law, the National Assembly can call ministers of the executive to explain their performance or lack thereof. But what power does the National Assembly have to force a minister to do the right thing or to punish her if she refuses to do the right thing? So, for instance, people on the outside are lauding Rotimi Amechi, for instance, and saying, oh, he did very well. But you've said, or you've implied, that for the people in the industry, they feel a bit differently from the general opinion. So what role does the National Assembly have? What power does it have to force a minister to do the right things or punish her if she refuses to do the right thing?
The only power that the senators or legislature have over the executive is what they call the oversight function, because they are free to visit the ministry, parasector departments to see how they are complying with budgetary allocations and then what's expected of them. But we have to look at this problem from 2 perspectives.
Okay.
We have to look at, according to the constitution again, the minister is only answerable to the president, who appoints or fires him. And according to the constitution, he holds office at the pleasure of the president. Now, let us look at the National Assembly or legislature. Their only power is oversight function. How far have you complied with what we have given you? How far have you delivered the so-called dividend of democracy? But unfortunately, and I want to say this categorically, unfortunately, from the happenings since 1999, I'm talking this based on experience.
Okay.
Legislature sees the oversight function as a meal ticket, as a gold mine. Let me just try to hide some identity.
Okay.
About 6 years ago, there was this head of a government agency. The man said when some members of the National Assembly came to his office, he told us this in his office on their usual oversight function. He said after everything, he took them round, he brought them back to the office, he explained everything to them. So he said after a while, he expected that those people would say, okay, oh, thank you, we have seen what we want to leave. He said they just started there. They started gisting. After some time, there was nothing again to gist about. So I said, maybe one of them now asking Mr. DG, anything for this trip? He said he was looking at them because he couldn't understand. He said, for this trip, sir, I don't understand. You guys have just come up for oversight function. Anything, where do I get it from? He said, okay, you must get it all. Unfortunately, he didn't prepare for it. He said, okay, I will get back to you. Let me after discussing with the management team. He couldn't get back to them. Unfortunately for him, there was a budget of his department that has to go to the National Assembly for a very important national assignment that has to do with the security of this country. He said, do you know that when the matter got to them, they almost reduced that thing to nothing. That is the problem with the power that the National Assembly was given by the Constitution. Because if they had been sincere with that power, not to stop them from, even if you see there's a minister that has failed to perform up to expectation. If you have your genuine facts, you can take it to the president. If you have a working relationship with the president, that based on all this, so these are the things we have found out about your minister, it's like this guy has fallen below expectation. And the president will work accordingly. But if the president knows that the only reason why you are complaining is because this guy has not done what you expected him to do, then you will have lost that your power. Now, as to the minister, like I said initially, the minister holds is either remaining in the office or booted out to the president, who appoints him. So, if there is a minister that has fallen short of expectation, the National Assembly, from what has happened, they cannot do anything. So, I think the pressure should be maintained on the president. And that is why I think there was a president, I can't remember, either it was Chief Olusegun or I can't remember, that the day you are being sworn in as a president, are you there, Sandra?
Yes.
As a minister.
That the day you are being sworn as a president, you are also signing a letter of resignation along. So that the day the guy feels that you are no more performing as expected, he just listens to your letter of resignation. Maybe you just hear about it on the radio. So that is a very uncouth way of doing things anyway. But I think there should be, even in the civil service, when we're in the civil service, there's something they call APA, Annual Performance Something Report, where you will be assessed at the end of every year. I think that is exactly what we should be doing now, especially by the president or the appointing authority, either the governor in the place of the commissioners. We should be able to assess the performance of your ministers, because you must have given them a target. I was very happy when I heard the president's speech to these people today at the retreat that opened today, where he was telling them that it's like you guys have no choice. It's either you perform along with my expectation or something else will happen. Because there should be a what we call repercussion for every action or inaction.
Okay.
But when somebody believes that, oh, nobody can move me, like what happened in the past 4 years when no minister was removed, no minister was juggled, it gives room for complacency. That whatever I do, my 4 years is a tenure is assured, whether I perform or not. The only thing I need to do is just remain in the good books of the president.
I wonder what you think about. I wonder what you think about people who say that what the National Assembly should do is refuse to pass the budget of ministers that delinquent. I wonder what you say to that. Well, you will let us know after this break. Let us know after this break. You're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. And this is the big hard fact where we're talking about Nigeria's infrastructure. And we're taking a look at the different ones. Today we're focusing on transportation. So road, waterways, railways. And we're having conversations with a journalist and maritime expert, Dikbo Olayokun. I am Sandra Ezekwesili.
I'm Aghogho Oboh.
Hard Facts will be right back.
This is a paid announcement.
Hello, Nigeria.
Hey guys.
What's good? Anyways, your
infrastructure, specifically roads, rail, and waterways. We have a maritime expert on the show who's also a journalist, Dipo Olayokun. Dipo, thank you so much for staying with us.
Yes, Sandra, you're welcome back.
All right, so before the break, I was asking what you thought about the people who argue that whenever a ministry's budget appears before the National Assembly for approval, the Assembly can use it to punish a delinquent minister by refusing to pass the budget until the minister or the president takes action on the matter. What do you say to that?
Yes, if you look at the constitution, it's very clear on the power of the National Assembly. We are talking at the national level now. As to make law, I think based on section 88 and 89, has to do with appropriation. And then don't forget that under that clause, there's also a provision that if for any reason National Assembly has not passed the budget, the president is entitled to spend at least 50% of the preceding budget before this thing is passed. So what we are looking at, yes, it is within the purview of the powers of National Assembly. Because the essence of sending the budget to the National Assembly is for them to scrutinize it. Ordinarily, it's just that things have changed in the country now. Ordinarily, in every budget, what is expected is that the president or whoever is going to review the past budget or outgoing budget, how far they have gone, and then now make his own or her own projection, new projection. But the problem is because of the politics we play in this part of the country, the tendency is that if any National Assembly tries to withhold or stay action on the budget of any ministry, department, or government agency, you know how we read meaning into all these things. Somebody will just come up and say, oh, it's because, assuming let us take the road infrastructure. Somebody will come and say, oh, it is because there is a road in my village that is being included in the budget. That is one National Assembly predominantly dominated by so and so people. We don't want this thing to be passed. That is the sad commentary on the state of our politics. But the belief is that when you say you have somebody an oversight function, the oversight function is to ensure that you comply with what is passed in the budget. And then if you fail to comply, there should be a repercussion. And maybe that is why the Constitution needs to be amended to give that power to the National Assembly to do that. Though there will be internal politics that they will play at party level, because you can't imagine a president that has sent a bill to the National Assembly, a appropriation bill, dominated by members of his party. It will be very hard for such a National Assembly to tell you that, oh, we are not going to pass this because the minister has not given good account of what we gave to him in the last budget. So I think those are the things we need to look at. There's the need for us to divorce our politics from various sentiments, primordial sentiment, ethnic sentiment, religious sentiment. When our politics have grown to that level, where institutions can be independent, where the institution can look at the other in the face and say, this is what we are supposed to do. If we don't do it, then you aren't taking this. We might not get to that level where you are talking about. And that is why that decay will continue, because it has become government of party, like Fela will say. But there must be a repercussion, because when you say a budget, it is just to guide your expenditure. And it is expected that even if for any reason you cannot do it, there will be a position for you to come back to the National Assembly, because the Constitution says that if for any reason you cannot do this, you come back to the National Assembly and say, for so reason, I cannot do this. But when we have passed it, the President has signed it, it has become a law, which in some places is because it has become part of the Constitution. And if you fail to implement it, it's an impeachable offense if we want to look at it from the aspect of governance and politics. But because of the type of politics that we play, and that is why we still have this rot going on. And that is why when you say somebody has been budgeted 360 for roads, and you begin to ask the question, where are the roads? Somebody will now tell you that, do you know that even out of the 360, only 200 were released. It's only now we now know that there's a difference between budget and released capital. So those are the things that should be considered as a whole. But at the same time, National Assembly needs to stand their ground and then know their owners. That is the most important thing.
All right, General. You know, something which you say is something I think is of great concern to a lot of people, how you divorce the politics from the goals and aspirations. So on the one hand, we may not see what is being done with the billions of naira allocated for roads or the railway projects, but one thing we can see over the years, there's a number of abandoned projects across the country. Last time I saw a report from Institute of Project Managers. It did say about 56 4,000 projects scattered across the country abandoned, coming to a tune of about 12 trillion naira. In the southwest alone, we got nearly 30% of that on ground. I mean, just take a look around Lagos. If you go around Marina, abandoned federal government structure everywhere. And people have said that this is a sign that we have a huge problem. In fact, the report I'm quoting says it will take maybe close to 100 years to deal with the backlog of those projects. And it's not reducing. I mean, I checked last time, 2012 was 4,000, so it's now growing geometrically projections now. What are your thoughts about abandoned projects? On the hand, we're looking for new projects. Meanwhile, the ones on ground we haven't even dealt with.
Yes, the problem has to do with a lot of politicking that goes into projects and project design. This is because every government in Nigeria believes that it's only a great project that he or she introduces, that the president or the governor introduces, that will be attributed to him. And unfortunately, again, because some people believe that it's only the contract they award that they can get something on top of it. That is why every incoming government abandoned the project that they inherited, and then they begin to plan for another project. It is because our people don't see government like Oboh told us then, that government is a continuum. That is why they call it government. Government goes, another one comes in, as opposed to continue. But unfortunately, because we have a new orientation about governance. Governance everywhere is about the people. And then there's another area we should look at. Oboh. At some of the projects themselves, you ask yourself, what are the value, what are the necessity or the need for this project, or the aspiration of the yearnings and association of the people. Some of these projects, they don't have any meaning. Hello?
They seem to do cost-benefit analysis in the first instance.
Apart from that, then you look at but the benefit on the people. Some people just embark on some projects because, okay, this bill must be attributed to me, and then because of some selfish interest. But even at that, there's a way you can convert whatever project that is even has gone amiss into serving the needs of the people when you get into office. But you see, some of these things will continue because the followers, when I say followers, I mean the people that are being ruled, the people that are being governed, they don't know what is expected of a government. That is why maybe when you are, I can't remember, somebody said that we should introduce the teaching of the Constitution right from the primary school. If somebody knows that a section 14 of the Constitution has given the primary responsibility of a government, if every Nigerian knows that the primary responsibility of a government is security and then welfare, then that will have summed up everything. And that will have made people in government to know that the problem we are having today is because people that they are governing don't even know their rights. And that is why when the government...
You think that the people, the ministers, for example, are not under some sort of pressure? I'm saying this because I remember during the confirmation of the ministers by the Senate, one of the criticisms against lawmakers who were posing questions was that most of the questions were taken from a regional perspective. It was my state, or what my state or region has to benefit from this road or bridge here. What are you going to do about it? And people said that this is what will happen when they get into office. The immense pressure the ministers will face from different lawmakers and from politicians and governors saying, fix my road when there's not enough money to handle all of that.
Politics everywhere is about me, and it's about me and my people. So the National Assembly are there to represent their representatives of their people. So if somebody has gone there and then he cannot report back to his constituency, do you think they will remember him in the next election? That is why we have about 109 members in the Senate and 360 in the House of Reps. They are there to represent the interests of their people. Yes, we can come to a platform where they'll be talking Nigeria, but they are there primarily to represent the interests of their people, and they know where the shoe pinches when it comes to their own particular constituency. So if they're asking questions from that perspective, because what other questions do you want them to ask? Had it been we have gotten to a level where the person they are scrutinizing or they are interviewing, we know that this guy is going to Ministry of Defense. What I'm saying in essence is that we have got to a level where we apportion or allocate portfolios as we are sending names to the National Assembly. They will know where to ask questions. But in the absence of that, their interest now comes into play and the interest of their people. So the politics is evolving, though slowly. But I think we need to move faster because we started very late. And then we cannot be strolling. We need to do what they call jogging, so that we need to catch up with people that left before us.
Digbo, why do our roads develop potholes and wash away? Because, do you know why I'm asking this? I travel a lot, right? Nigeria is not the only country with tropical weather. You go to Florida in the United States, for instance, and in spite of their tropical rain, the roads last for decades. Why do our roads develop potholes and wash away? What is the quality control problem?
I think that one has to do with the problem with the officials in the ministry. About 7 years ago, we traveled to a place, they call it Oghogho in the Delta. I can't remember if I forgot very right.
Yeah, Oghogho, Delta.
Oghogho. Then we got to a place where we met one elderly man, very old man. And the man was telling us gleefully that road that you passed to get to this place was done under the time of Babafemi Awolowo as the Premier of Western Region. Wow. You can imagine that time. Because the quality of the work they will do then, you have to look at the type of the contractors that did the job, the expertise that they put into it. Then the supervisory ministry. Because for every project, there is an official that is attached to that project in the Ministry of Works to be supervising every level to make sure that they comply with the specification. But these days, what do we have? A lot of our officials are compromised. What they're supposed to, I'm just using as an example, what they're supposed to use 2 bags of cement for, they will use half bag. And somebody will sign it as being okay. After a while, they begin to cave in. It is because of the quality of job and the quality of the materials. That is why you have a lot of collapse in the country, in Nigeria now. Because what they put into it, when you come to our office here in Apapa, it's a colonial building in Apapa here. They have a lot of them in the GRA. They are still very strong because of the quality of the people that supervise the project. But this is what do we have? We have a project less than 2 years that will collapse because of the substandard materials. Again, don't forget, substandard materials is also there. And that is why NACAF is calling that SON should be allowed to come back into the ports so that they will look at this material before they get into the public. So there are a lot of problems that we have
system, huh?
It's a broken system. The quality of the materials they are using, starting from when these materials are imported, the custom officer that will look at the material knows that this thing is 3 mm, but he will release that at 7 mm. And then when the thing gets into the society, the officer that will use it knows what he's supposed to use, but he'll go and buy the fake one. And then who is the one supervising?
It's quite the thing.
That is why we have this. It's a change.
Yes, let's bring in the listener now. I want to find out how you think the government has done when it comes to road and rail. Are there particular road projects that you are happy about or unhappy about? What should government be doing differently when it comes to transport infrastructure? I mean, we just talked about the water, we've talked about railways, we've talked about the system of awarding contracts, paying for those contracts, supervising them, monitoring the projects, and the difficulty that the Ministry of Work is facing with getting all of these things to work. And we're curious what you have to say to all of the points we've raised. 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 3993. Anaya Augustine on Facebook says the ministerial nominees and their portfolios are simply payback. Time for those that contributed their quotas in the last elections. And I urge Nigerians to expect absolutely nothing from these ones because this administration has no economic blueprint. People are so harsh.
and also kindly send us messages on WhatsApp. So I will take them also. The number on WhatsApp is 0809 597 5805. Kindly include your name with the messages on WhatsApp.
Yes. All right. So let's try to give everybody 45 seconds. Hello, Luafemi. Welcome.
I'm great. I'm great.
Go ahead.
Quick one. I want to look at the legality behind post construction.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think before a contractor, is given a contract, he needs to get a bond, especially from an insurance company, right? I don't know, but I heard. So I have someone that works with an insurance company,
Okay.
I heard. But
there's a bid process, but I don't know the exact.
Yes, that bidding process. You have to get that insurance bond. I think you're going to tell the government that it's going to last for 30 years. I think it's the job of the Public Procurement Agency.
Good.
Okay.
This road is going to last for 30 years. But I beg to ask, there was a road at Kirikiri. See, when they were constructing the road, right?
Which of the roads in Kirikiri? Because every road I know in Kirikiri is in the state
I will tell you. It's at Happy Home, right? Happy Home. That construction started during, what's his name, Fashola.
Okay.
During at construction, the road was getting dilapidated at spots. Up to this moment, that road has not been completed. So I was asking, wasn't there a bond? So I think when we get to that point where those contractors are getting sued, that is where everybody is going to, start thinking right. I think that's my 2%. Though.
Oluwafemi, thank you for calling and sharing it. Franklin is in Ikorodu. Corruption is the cause of everything wrong in the country, he says. Oh, fortunately, he's ended that call. I think we have Chika on the line. Hello, welcome.
No, hello, this is Olamide.
Olamide, welcome.
Yeah, from Aghogho.
Yes, go ahead.
I greet everyone in the studio.
Okay.
You see, the time. You see, when ministers, when they fail in their assignment and they are not being punished. Okay, check out when Mr. Ogunlewe was made the Minister of Works. Over 51 billion mismanaged.
Oh, that's quite unfortunate. We've got Ifedi. Ifedi's on the line. Let's talk to Ifedi now. Ifedi, hi. Good evening. Oh, unfortunately, Ifedi's calling a line that isn't working. So, Colette or Nata, whoever's taking calls, please stop taking line 5. JB, hi. Good evening. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. How you guys doing?
We're good.
I just want to let us, bring us, up to speed with the quality of roads in Lagos when Bola Tinubu was governor and the quality of roads in Lagos now.
Okay.
If you look at the Aghogho Way in Ikoyi, you look at the medical road in Ikeja, you look at the Oregon Road, Kudirat Abiola Way, those roads were constructed right after the 1999 election and they're still standing. But every other one, let me give you the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway that is still under construction. They've not even commissioned it. Go to cement right now. Come and see very bad portions. They've not even commissioned the road. One rain, everything went off. So I think, like your guest said, the ministry, the supervisory aspect of it, we don't see anything. They construct roads, and one rain, it's gone. You would see, I'm not an engineer, but you see the thickness in the bitumen is so thin that one truck will pass rain and everything will just move, and nobody's saying anything. We've not seen any construction company, taken to court for bad job. Why? Because they've all been compromised. That's just the truth.
JB, thanks for calling and sharing your thoughts. Obinna is in Agbara. Hello, Obinna. Welcome.
Hello.
Yes, welcome to the show. Good evening. Go ahead.
Okay. The project I have problem with is that of Niger Bridge, okay? And that is because whenever I'm traveling to that side, I discover that we are going to use like 3 hours to just cross that small space. I mean, if government can construct some other bridges along our waterways, it will be good. Good evening.
All right. Good evening. I like it when people keep it short. Peter is in Ikorodu. Hello, Peter. Welcome to the show.
Sandra.
Yes, welcome.
Now, the fact means that the compromise is not from the ministry. That is, is not from the civil servant. In a situation where you are a professional in your field, an engineer for that matter, you raise an objection on the quality of a job, and the commissioner call you, say, what's your problem? Finally, I want to tell you, sincerely speaking, that in any political dispensation, no civil servant have power, including the permanent secretary.
That's why you are a professional. So you
have the language.
As a civil engineer, you have your code of ethics, which says that this is
If
not
that
what you should do.
but that your code of ethics has to be in your society. It's not to the commissioner. Because commissioner does not want to hire any report that the thing is not good.
Let me ask you a question, Peter. A building goes down because a civil engineer failed to do what was required, and the building goes down. Who bears the responsibility, Peter?
I want to tell you.
Now, I'm asking you a question. Who bears the responsibility, the civil engineer or the developer?
I'm a civil servant. The civil engineer bears something.
Very
but
good.
The fact remains that in a political dispensation, civil servants are hands down. They don't have power. No power at all was given to them.
Okay. Thank you.
If you are directed, you have to obey. If you complain, you will be removed.
And when you face the disciplinary committee of your professional ethics
There's
board,
no disciplinary committee anywhere. There's no disciplinary committee. Have you seen any civil servant that has been disciplined?
No. I mean the professional body that you are aligned to.
No professional body. There will be an investigation. They all know that.
Peter, I'm telling you, they are. You will be sanctioned and you will lose your license.
Let me tell you something. If there is any collapse video or any pre project,
yes,
the society. The civil society, current, we configure. We institute a panel to investigate the matter and bring report.
Good.
And the corporate, we explain his own side of the story.
And then you'll be sanctioned.
Nobody will sanction you.
Okay. All right.
Have you seen the person that has been sanctioned?
I've seen several, Peter. I've been for many of those tribunals.
In the ministry, government project.
Yes, I've seen.
The problem
I've seen Conran.
That is what I want to know.
All right, Peter. Thanks for calling. I like it when you people get Aghogho to debate you. Debo, what are your thoughts on the opinions that have been shared?
Well, I don't know, because experience is the best teacher. I don't know where maybe the last caller was talking from experience.
Okay.
But if you look at what happens in the civil service, most of the time the commissioner himself relies on the report brought by the officer. So so if anybody is going to be compromised, it is the guy that goes to the field to inspect the quality of work being done. Because that is why what some governors do is that even when they bring some report to their table, like Pashola was doing when he was governor, they said at night this man will just go to where projects are being carried out to go and what Chief former Minister for Information called IMAC, not earmark, because in his believing. Because if anybody is going to be compromised, it is that officer that is attached to that contract. It is his report that the commissioner or the governor will rely upon to make any decision. Nobody is talking. No, we are not disputing what Peter said, because some commissioners would have told you right from the beginning that I have interest in this business. So whatever report you are going to bring, you must make sure that it establishes with what I expect. But more often than not, if you look at the way our civil service is configured, the compromise is done in collaboration, in connivance with the officer who is a civil servant. It's as simple as that.
All right, Deep. Well, thank you so much for joining us on The Big Hard Fact today. It's always a pleasure to have conversations with you, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Deep Olayokun is a journalist as well as a maritime expert, and we've been having conversations about infrastructure. Conversations will continue tomorrow. We're looking at different directions tomorrow.
Yeah, still transport, but now we're going to stay with infrastructure. Now we've dealt water, rail, and road.
Yeah, tomorrow we're moving away.
Now we're moving
from
away
transportation.
From transportation. Now
yeah,
we're going to focus on. All right, I got so many messages here. Unfortunately, I will not be able to take them because we have bills to pay. But I'm going to read them probably after the news so that you don't feel I've let you down.
Are you? When the I Beg to Differ team are talking about universities and funding?
We'll borrow 1 minute and quickly run through the messages for them. All right.
Facebook, we've got comments as well. And if you like to share your thoughts, get on Facebook and do them. The news is at 6 on I Beg to Differ today. Universities. All right, why are you looking at me? Have people changed the topic? Okay, so all right, just checking. Stay here. Who's asking for too much? The universities or the Nigerian government? That's coming up, and I beg to differ.
99.3 Nigeria Info.